welcome to everyone that has been joining, as the event is a myth and truth of Nearshore, and it's an industry that has been growing lately and going through a lot of positive changes. And for that, we have amazing speakers that are going to help us with the detail of all the things that are going on with the industry. On my side, I'm Giovanni. I am the host of Startup Grind. Startup Grind is a community of startups with over 5 million members, and we're hosting over 100 events monthly with in over 250 cities. In Startup Grind, in sessions similar to this, we have been able to host speakers such as from Y Combinator, Sequoia, Anderson Horowitz, and also with founders of DigitalOcean, Figma, Uber, and much more. So definitely, it's an amazing topic to share about. And for that, and before sharing us with the speakers and with our guests, I want to first introduce our co-host and partner for this event, that is Talos. And for that, I want to introduce you our first guest, which is Tania. So Tania, feel free to start.
Hey, hi everybody, and welcome. Again, my name is Tania. I'm a psychologist. I've been working in the IT industry for 8 years, and more specifically in HR and recruitment for about 7 years. Now I manage a very talented group of recruiters at Talos. I'm the Chief Recruitment Officer. Talos is a technology company, and what we do is we partner with other companies to help them with their product development in every step of the way. We have two lines of services. One is the Talent Hub, and there, what we do is we help US and Canadian companies grow, manage, retain their Latin American teams. And the other one is the Product Lab, where we offer end to end product development services, from strategy, design, development, testing, launching, of course, of the software solutions. So that's what we do at Talos. We are very happy to be co-hosting this roundtable together with Startup Grind. So thank you, Giovanni, for the opportunity to be here.
That's great, Tania. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing. I believe my camera is a little bit frozen, so trying to fix that on my end.
And perfectly.
Oh, awesome!
Yeah,
I was receiving here. Thanks, Stacy, and thanks, Emilia, for the feedback. I was receiving that I was a little bit frozen. So thanks, Tania, for that introduction of Talos. Very interesting. And for next, also we want to introduce you the next our next guests with diverse profiles, but both of them very exciting and very interesting. So I don't know who wants to go first, either Stacy or Emilia, but feel free to discuss it out and share us about it.
The pressure.
Okay. Go first, Emilia.
Thank you, Stacy. First of all, again, thank you, Startup Grind, and thank you, Talos, for the invitation. I am also a fellow colleague psychologist as Tania, but also I went to the dark side of recruiting. I believe it was 10 years ago. I started as a recruiter as well, and then made my way into HR. Now it's been over 3 years that I've worked with Kadre. We are a recruiting agency based in LatAm. And what we do best is to build in-house teams for companies as well in the United States or in Europe. They are looking for expanding their teams here in Latin America, and especially if they want to grow in Argentina. And I believe that this topic is right on point. I'm so glad that I get this invitation to join Talos. I met them last year, had an amazing time with the guys over a conference, and I think that we have a lot to share to the US market about what we do here in Latin America. So thank you again, guys, for the invitation, for having me.
Great. And same, I just
Thanks,
want to
Emilia.
echo how, sorry to just go, but I am, I'm Stacy McMillan. I represent Remote. We are a global employment platform. So we help companies hire anyone, anywhere. I sit in the US and I'm asked all week long about the potential of Latin America as a nearshore partner. I met and have worked with Talos. And for me, it's just an essential partner to have, because what Remote does is support the employment once the candidate is located. But I really rely on, folks like Emilia and Tania and Siba and Pablo to find the great candidates that then I can help support their employment. And just really happy to be part of this group and love this topic. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks, Stacy, and thanks, Emilia. Yeah, I know this is a very passionate topic, and yeah, so that's very exciting that to all of us be here to learn more and discuss about what's going on in this industry. So, what if we start getting a little bit into nearshore, and mention a little bit of why it's being so attractive these days, and especially in the software development area. So, who would like to share us a little bit about their point of view of the interest that is growing in this industry right now?
Well, I'll go first. I'll just say that Remote.com is a company with a global focus, right? We're actually completely distributed. We employ over 30,000 employees and contractors around the world. But as somebody who sits in the US, I have a particular love and my constituents, the companies that I work for, which are US and Canada based, are I would say primarily focused or more focused on the resources that exist in Latin America. So it's one thing to hire a team of developers from Belarus. There are different, or India. There are different considerations, and so for me, there are just really some important distinctions about working with Latin America that make this make where y'all are very interesting to US and Canadian businesses. Things like language, things like time zone. I mean, making functional teams. Not everyone works asynchronously, although that is something to consider. But before we get to that stage, time zone is a really important component to companies that I work with.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
I don't want to. Oh, sorry. Go, Tania.
Yeah, sure. Like tapping into what Stacy was just saying, time zones is important for collaboration. I think the workflow flows better, and the teams are allowed to collaborate in real time, because South America and North America have very similar time zones, and that helps with the flow. But then also, another key aspect, I think, is education here in Latin America. The quality of education that we have here, really, the universities produce excellent professionals. And that also is important because they are very directed into following this trends of having new technologies every day, and this always changing stacks that we have and that we know, since working in this industry, is being on top of what's going on. And these professionals are ready to hit the ground running for every software development project that they work in.
Mm-hmm. And I also want to add to that over the past 10 years here in Latin America, we have launched around 45 unicorns companies. So that means that we've been growing a talent pool of software developers and technical talent that it's ready to, as Tania said, it's ready to manage all the challenges that we can have in a project. And I think that's huge because not only you have universities, as Tania mentioned, and academies that are forming junior candidates and talents to jump into the work environment, but also you have senior roles that already know how to handle project end to end, how to work with startups, how to work in competitive markets. So I think that's a big plus. And also, and I'm glad that we left this for the last item, we have competitive rates. And that doesn't mean that we don't have higher profiles to share, but it means that here the cost of living is less competitive than in US, in Canada, in Europe. So salaries here are way better for companies that are trying to build their teams. So, and I'm saying that I'm glad that we left that for last because we have a lot of other things to mention about Latin America, not only rates, that we know that it's the first thing that comes to mind when companies are learning where to go. But I think that these are like special key points that we have to keep in mind.
Totally. And adding up to that, I think that a lot of concerns that clients or US companies have is that when it comes to low cost or lower costs in Latin America compared to the US, sometimes they might think that that means a lower quality, and that's not the case in this industry. Like, low cost in Latin America doesn't necessarily compromise the excellence of your product. So that's an important thing to keep in mind.
It's true with wine, and it's very true with employees.
Right.
And
Yeah, and besides that, yeah, those are really great, yeah, points about the salaries and the discussion about the salaries and questions. But something that I believe that is very also important to mention is what about and that I believe is interesting for the audience. What about the legal and logistical aspects of hiring and managing teams nearshore? If
Yeah.
who would like to talk a little bit about it?
If I can speak to that, one of the premises of remote is that we allow a company based in the U.S. to hire anyone anywhere, but what we support is a compliant. We take it's a compliant hiring platform, meaning we can help companies in the U.S. hire employees in Peru versus Argentina versus Brazil versus Colombia versus Uruguay, allow those employees to participate in the pension programs, in the national healthcare programs, in the retirement, in the to get the benefits that they're entitled to within their home countries. And I think that it's mandatory to have an expert helping you with those legal and logistical aspects of hiring employees. One of the things we're concerned with here at Remote is sort of the social justice aspect of hiring. We believe workers, are entitled to the dignity of the protections that their country affords them. And by engaging with Remote, we'll handle all those legal and logistical aspects of the engagement for your small business, so you do not have to hire a whole HR team in every country you go into. We'll support all those legal and logistical crucial details.
About the people in LatAm requesting for that type of support, right?
Yeah, we've seen, so it's been really interesting to see some changes in the regions over the past few years. I've noticed that some countries like Colombia, for example, have made a real concerted effort to ensure that their employees that are working for US-based businesses are really classified correctly and getting the benefits that they're entitled to. And Colombia is a particular leader in ensuring that that businesses who hire know the difference between what's a contractor and what's an employee. And Colombia as a country has taken a firm stance in making sure that those norms are understood and followed by companies wanting to do business and hire their workers. I've also seen a shift in appetites just from the employee perspective over the past few years. I've seen employees or workers, I should say workers. I've seen workers in Mexico become much more desirous of being employees and not wanting to take as many roles as contractors, because they're beginning to understand the distinction. They're beginning to understand the protections that being an employee affords them in their country. And that's a primary concern for remote is what is customary in the country to provide. How do you make sure you're doing it? And how do you make sure it doesn't take too much of your time as a startup, because you don't have the precious time to attend to those details. We do those details for you.
And sometimes it's just because you don't know that information in advance. I mean, clients, they want to do the correct thing for their workers, but sometimes, as you mentioned, Stacy, they think they have to hire first someone from payroll or from HR in each place they want to go, and that's really hard. And sometimes it takes a lot of time, a lot of money to achieve that expansion, that level of expansion. And sometimes they don't know they have alternatives, and they can keep on hiring people here in LatAm and making sure they are doing the correct thing for them and for the company itself regarding compliance, let's say. So I think that it's amazing to show that we have possibilities and that there are a lot of things to be compliant and also to get candidates all over the world if you want.
Yeah, and yeah, that's great. Sorry, Tania, were you gonna add something to that?
Oh no, please go ahead.
No, I was about to mention that all that Emilia and Stacy was sharing. I believe it also brings up the topic that for some companies or for some individuals, might be kind of confusion about the differences between a contractor and also about an employee, because that's the daily day of what is happening in the industry in LatAm. So yeah, it would be great to have your approach on this for everyone to have a clear idea on the differences and the pros and cons of each one of those.
Absolutely. And let me be clear. I mean, in the software development industry, it is very, very common to assume that your employees or assume that your workers are going to be contractors. Everybody's doing it. That's absolutely the truth. But what we try to help you analyze is, so high level, there are three distinctions that really make a worker look more like an employee and less like a contractor. So a contractor is a very, very valid part of your business plan. A contractor focuses on a specific task. It may or may not be, it may be, it might not be your core competency, but it's something to have to get done. If you're an app, you need a developer to develop the code. So sometimes that is a super legitimate use of a contractor. But on the flip side, the question of contractor versus employee is really, how much control do you have over how the worker gets their job done? Does the worker have to show up to meetings? Does the worker have to do the job the way you tell them to? And could you say, no, that's not right, it needs to be redone? Other things that affect contractor that make somebody look more like an employee are, is this worker managing other people? Is this worker, really executing a critical function of your organization? And when you have a worker who's starting to manage others, that worker is really sort of essential to your business and begins to look more like an employee. So I've got some resources, and we can help run this analysis, to understand sort of what is the job description, how long have you been working together, what are the expectations of both parties about how you interact, and I can sort of give customers a green light, you're good, this is truly a contractor, or yellow light, there are some factors that are making this person look a little more like an employee. We might want to talk about maybe this person shouldn't manage people. Or red light, based on Colombian labor law or Uruguayan labor law, these are very clear indicators that this is an employee of your company. And so in this green light, yellow light, red light analysis, we can provide, hey, we see these two workers that are really, on the spectrum, potentially going to be creating misclassification risk for you. Here are the financial penalties. You can decide what you want to do about it. So that's the kind of support that we offer, and the expertise to just really know what are the main differences. Can I tweak the job description, or do I really have an employee and I'm just going to have to pay them, the statutory, just classify them as an employee. But the good news is you can keep them, because you can work with remote. You won't have to open up your own whole entity in this one country to support one worker.
Right. I think that the legal aspect, Stacy, is so important when hiring contractors. I've also heard some myths about hiring contractors from clients and U.S. companies. One of them was that when hiring contractors, they might be less loyal to the company's culture, and there might be some challenges with the integration. And actually, that's not necessarily the case, unless in Talos, what we do is we really make sure that that person that is joining a company is really integrated into that culture and into that team, because the flow is going to be better, but also because we don't want anybody to feel like they don't belong. So the sense of belonging when you're working with a team day to day is very important. And then also I've heard that some of when you hire a contractor, there's a risk of intellectual property, and actually, like, the risk is always there. It could happen with full-time employees as well. But for that is like so important to have proper and well-written contracts, that we also take care. I think all of us take care of that. And but I do think there are like some advantages to this and to hiring contractors. One of them is that a lot of these individuals have worked into very different projects and different companies, and they might have a broader range of experience that they can bring to the table. And also, as Stacy was mentioning, there's a reduced cost of administrative work for the company that's hiring. All of the payroll processing and tax withholding and logistics and contract is all covered by our companies. So that's another benefit of hiring contractors versus full-time employees.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, or Emilia, like, what about the retention rates, like, of those contractors or employees? Have you seen a difference on motivation or a difference on retention rates on approaching one side or the other? What's your take on that?
Glad that you mentioned that. Here in Kadre, we really look into retention rates. Even though we are an agency and we hire for our clients, last year we had a retention rate of 92%. And that's why, as Tania mentioned, it's not about the type of contract that you have. I believe it's about the whole process and how you engage with those talents, and what do you share about your company to keep them interested in what you're doing, in the goals that you have, in the tasks that they will have to do. And I think that in order to achieve that, you have to set the process right. From the first step of getting a job description of what you're going to look for, technical skills, seniority, soft skills that you need for your team, and how you're going to assess that candidate, and how you're going to share that information of your culture, of what you're doing, of your project with that candidate. And I think that once you have a process end to end and you share information, it's like the girls are saying, it's not about a contract or employee if you have clear communication with them, and you can set the expectations of what you expect from that person to join the team. You will have them on board because they will truly believe in the project that you are facing. I think that it happens a lot with startups. We are used to work with startups, so small teams. So on the first meeting, we leave the technical aspect aside, and we want to understand, why are you trying to get a new hire to your team? What are you trying to achieve with that? And understand the culture and understand the needs and what type of personal profile you're looking for. So then we can do that match and make sure that once we pass all the technical aspects, that person will stay with you because they believe in the things that you are building.
Yeah, I agree. It's so important, Emmy, what you were just saying. The fact that the person is more than their technical skills. It's a holistic view that we have to have, and to make sure that that person is going to be well integrated and is going to be a match with the company that they're going to be joining. And for that, it's important to understand their culture and see if it's a good match with it. But also, I think it's important to follow up with every candidate and every person that has joined a company. We really don't like to just provide the talent and then kind of disappear, but what we do is really like follow up with them. We have one-on-one sessions to make sure that person is happy where they are, is growing with the team, with the company, with the project. So we do that once a month with everybody to make sure we're all on the same page. And then also providing other, people experience activities for them to feel that they are part of a community. We help them in their professional development with technical trainings. They know that if they have questions, there's a community to help them. And there's also like other well-being, activities that we have, like fitness twice a week, just to make sure that they feel that somebody, is taking care of them as a person, along, with putting an eye on their professional development as well. But yes, we try to, have this very holistic approach on this professional that's also a person who's working for another company.
That's so awesome to hear. Like, not only like from the start from Emilia, like sharing about 92% retention rate. That's awesome.
Amazing.
And with what Tania was sharing, also it makes sense that those retention rates are so high with applying that type of attention to the individual. So that's amazing. And what about in nearshore? I believe that it must be an issue of the part of how to pay international to the people that are hired. I don't know, Stacy, if in this part, what type of issues have you seen companies face, and or potentially if you can share us how have you been able to approach this on a way that works for the companies and also for the individuals?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll say the first the first challenge that in my experience, one of the first challenges a U.S. company faces when they're hiring in other countries is they just don't understand the conventions, right? They don't understand, in some countries there's a 13th month, the Aguinaldo, right? This is a convention in Latin America. It's your bonus. It's part of your expectation. And we don't have it here in the US. So, making sure. No, I love showing these benefits to US employers. Really, they get 20 paid holidays off a year. I mean, this is really, we need to catch up. It's no secret that the US is dismal in the conditions that we have for our workers. But, the first surprise is, wait a minute, I have to give a whole extra month of pay. So, there are some adjustments that the employer has to make, when they're first, when they're first expanding into these regions. I think, I think that there's some learning curve around just what Emilia was talking about engagement. There has to be engagement for any kind of remote environment. You have to make sure you're over communicating and engaging and checking and asking and not assuming that somebody feels part of the group. I think another challenge is understanding economies in Latin America. I mean, one of the things that remote can do, which is really helpful, is we've been able to pay US dollars to employees in Colombia, Argentina, Costa Rica. And this is a special arrangement that Remote has made with the Argentinian government. It's not easy to get that done in Argentina, but we've been able to support workers by allowing U.S. companies and any companies in any part of the world actually to pay out in U.S. dollars, so it supports the workers, gives them some more economic stability. So we've done some homework around what's the best way to pay out, how do workers like to be paid, and then we can help that be an option for an employer in the U.S. who just doesn't have any concept of, we might know that there are, that there's inflation in Argentina, but we don't know how to correct that or improve that for our workers. And Remote can help a U.S. company make sure that they're getting the best treatment possible from a financial aspect.
And
Emilia, on your side, or Tania, any other challenges to add up? I believe there's many. So
I was about to jump in about payment, and I think that leaving a client aside and having this opportunity to pay through remote, let's say, I think that we need to focus also on the workers, on the candidates. There are thinking about jumping to a different kind of contract. They want to achieve this new opportunity, but sometimes they are a little bit scared of doing this switch. Here we have what we call like a relationship or a contract that sometimes is hard to leave because of all the benefits that Stacy was mentioning. And if you can share that with a candidate and say, hey, this client offer this opportunity so you can get all these benefits and you can have this salary in US dollars, because of course it's something that most of the developers are looking for as well if they are jumping to work with clients in the US. And you can solve this big issue of them not knowing how to do it or if it's okay to do it. So calming them and sharing this information, and that the client will try to do the best thing possible to hire them. Is a huge thing for them because they are confident and they start to believe in the company from the beginning. And then you start building that trust, and then you build the retention of that candidate long term.
Yeah, that sounds great, and it seems that there might be like a lot of benefits for hiring them as a nearshore. I don't know, Tania, if you can share us like in more in detail about all the benefits that, because we have already discussed them, but if you can also share us some others.
Benefits of
hiring nearshore, of hiring nearshore?
Sure. So I have a list like on top of my mind. So one of them would be like the big pool of candidates, of talent that we have here in Latin America. And also, like, as we mentioned, the competitive rates that we handle here that that really don't compromise, the excellence of what you're creating. We have great quality of education. Also, the time zone that we mentioned that is very close, South America with North America, and that leads to good collaboration, synchronic one. Also, I don't know if this was mentioned, but the English level that we have here in Latin America, because there's a lot of people that is already used to working with companies in the United States, and professional here really pay a lot of attention and put a lot of emphasis in learning the language. So communication is, less of an issue, and, we learn the language so they can really understand fully what the project is about, the requirements, what's going on. They can, have a discussion in meetings. So language is also a barrier that it's sometimes is there, but not always, because we really know the importance of it. And also one of the benefits that we have in Talos is English classes to help them, expand their vocabulary, because we know they have to be working in English every day, and as a second language, sometimes it does present some challenges. So it's important for them to, be kind of have that opportunity to expand that vocabulary. And then also, one more thing is that the work ethic here in Latin America is very similar to work ethic in the United States, and that's another thing that we kind of double click during our interviews to make sure that they're going to be on time in the meeting. How Americans have that, pay a lot of attention to being on time, and everything has to be in a set schedule. And so that's another thing that we really like tap into during our screenings and our interviews, to the work ethic to be there in place.
And this is just my opinion. I don't have any data about it, but I truly believe that in Latin America, we've been through so many crises, economic, social crises, that we are able to adapt so fast. And we overcome challenges, and if we need to switch from one day to another to change what we're doing daily, we do it. And I think that is something that, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing to have to be like that because of the place that we are. But I think that it helps a lot. And you notice, as Tania said, we are used to work with companies like big software factories that are already sharing projects with clients in the US. So we are already adapting to how they work, the requirements that they have, the challenges that we are going to face. And I think that we have that flexibility to adapt, and I think it shows.
I think no one can dispute that grit is the absolute number one defining quality in an amazing worker. And that's exactly what you're talking about, is grit, resilience, grit. That is the most important component when in hiring, in my opinion.
Yeah. If they don't know something, they will learn it. They will do it.
Yeah, and I would add something about LatAm, that they're passionate people. So they're passionate about what they do, and they share that not only in the personal space but also in the professional way, and that's very motivating when hiring people that are passionate about what they do. So and that brings me to the next topic, where I believe, like as we were mentioning, that this industry is getting so much attention and it's growing so much, and it should be because there has been a lot of success stories behind it that people are more aware of that. I don't know if any of you could share us any story, a success story that comes to your mind that would be valuable to share over here.
Well, we do it for every client. Most of our clients are from the US. And one of the things that I highly recommend is that you try to find someone to give you information first. What I mean is you can collaborate with universities, you can collaborate with recruiting agencies, you can do your research before jumping into hire in Latin America, because you need information in advance. And what we do with our clients is, once we do this discovery call and we understand the needs, we need to make sure to share the risks that you can have when hiring here. Is this technology something that you can find in America? Is this a very niche technology? Is this a common one? What about the rates? Do like a little bit of a benchmarking on this matter before hiring. And sometimes this will help to understand how fast can you hire in one place or the other, to understand what kind of projects are on the edge right now. A few years ago, it was all about crypto. Nowadays, it's all about AI. So you need to understand what is going on the market, and that's what we advise always to our clients. We can help them, but we need to understand all the requirements first and share the possibilities that we have here in order to move forward to the next stage. So we've been helping clients in the US, especially, to hire their teams here. And as we already said through all the roundtable, then they are very amazed of the talent that we have. And they come again and they try to build a team around the first person that they hire. And for us, that is a huge milestone, because that means that, hey, you were a little bit afraid at the beginning, and now you have a team of 3 or 4. We worked last year, I believe, it was with a company that has a mental health app. And they started with, okay, let's get 1 mobile developer, and then 2, and then a backend, and then a QA, and you see how they are building their team, and they are proud of the team that they built here in LatAm. And well, that's amazing.
I have a story like that too. So the very first customer I ever sold when I came to work for Remote in November of 2021 was an American telecom company, and they wanted to try to hire somebody in Costa Rica. This was an experiment. They were, they needed my help to find the candidate, which is why I rely on talent acquisition partners so much. So they just wanted to try this. They wanted to hire somebody in Costa Rica. So they found 2 workers actually. They found the first one. We got them set up. They lived through it. It was a transition, but then they hired somebody, the second person. And then for a year, nothing, no growth. The second, about a year from the first one, they hired 2 more. About 6 months from those 2, they hired 2 more. And I've noticed over the past probably 6 months, there's 1 onboarding every month for this customer. And so I've just seen this exponential, hiring path that they've taken over 2 years. The ability to hire in Latin America has changed their workforce. They only ever had 40 or 50 employees to start with, and now at least a dozen of them are located in Latin America, and that's an amazing accomplishment.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
I love hearing success stories. I think every time a client is happy with the work that we do and the talent we provide, that is a success story. So I guess like each one of them was a success story, like from the recent new owner of a startup that is looking for a very specific profile that has a very rare combination of stacks. And even though we have a big pool of talents of over 30,000 people, still sometimes there are requires queries of a very specific profile that we need to go out to the market and look for. And sometimes when that's achieved, that is a success story. This very specific, very unique kind of request is as much of a success story as a Fortune 500 that we have that ask for groups of stacks of 30 people to expand their teams. That's also great success stories. But I think the whole range is great, and we can cover that, and that's what we've been trained for. But also I think that starts from the team that we have internally at our companies, and the great job that they do. And when we have a very good, well-trained team, that's when we know that those success stories are gonna be a thing and they're gonna come. So training our team inside is what makes a success. I think that we're at Talos, we have a great team of recruiters, but they're all psychologists. So we pay a lot of attention of training them into technology, making sure that they understand what technology is about, that they can talk at an equal level with an engineer or any other role in IT. And that's how we can hire, management level roles, because we train them and they know exactly what they're talking about. So I think that is super important to then later have these success stories.
And I love our weekly meetings when they say, no, I don't think this candidate will go through, because when I ask about this JavaScript fundamentals, they say this, and I'm like, when? What happened? Why are you talking? So it's amazing, because I believe, as a recruiter in my soul, I believe that we also learn with candidates, and we try to understand, although we cannot code, of course, but we try to understand what they are building and the experience that they have. And I totally agree with that, Tania, that we need to prepare our team to interview these profiles, to make sure that if we are going to do a screening, if we are going to present a candidate, the client knows that we listen to the requirements that they have and we try to find the perfect match for them. So I think that was on point.
Totally. I think the combination, we're both psychologists, but the combination of psychology and technology goes great lengths in recruiting. Because we can understand the person, the soft skills, if this person is autonomous, if this person is going to be proactive, and everything that they're going to need to, be a good match with the client's culture, but at the same time, be able to understand if that skill set is there as well.
Mm-hmm.
I have one. I've been listening to you, psychologist, which I'm not, and I wanted to mention something. One of our prompts here is, why would you say choosing a remote workforce is so beneficial? And maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, Giovanni, so sorry. But something that I think is a completely worth mentioning in this venue is, when I think about remote work, I think about the fact that the ultimate form of power is to be able to stay where you want to stay, with your loved ones and your support system and your grandmother and your brothers and sisters and your mom, and get the pay that you're entitled to, and spend it how you want to in your own community. And I'm not against anybody ever wanting to leave home and go find something new, but I don't want you to have to leave home and go find something new to be a success in the world. And I think that, from a psychology point of view, there's generational trauma from people having only one choice, and that is to leave home and go find new opportunities. And so to me, that's the real power, the real social justice of remote work is that's the highest form of economic power, to be able to earn what you should be earning, keep your money where you want to keep your money, with people who you love, and absolutely have total economic autonomy. So maybe that's deep, but I just
No,
I think
it's
it's
No,
changing. I think it can
it's
change the
great,
world.
Stacy.
yeah.
It's great. It's great. All the work that you are doing, because that provides a little bit of hope to many people. So that's super nice. That's super nice. And also, as we are almost like reaching to the end of the roundtable, I would really like to ask.
No.
Yeah, yeah. It went so fast. I know, but
It
like.
went so fast.
And it has been, I mean, it has been amazing. I believe we have been covering so much topics. That part of hope, like how this job provides hope to many individuals, I believe that means a lot of why this industry is gaining so much attraction, and it's getting so much attention everywhere. I believe not only nearshore, but it definitely makes like it's life changing. So that's amazing to hear. And 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 just like to kind of start wrapping up before all the Q&A, if you could share, if some of you could share about the trends, either trends that are gonna that you see in the upcoming future, either technology. I know, Emilia, you shared a little bit about the changes about crypto, and then everything is now machine learning, but potentially trends also about hiring, trends about this relationship between the nearshore, or whatever trend that you feel that is worth sharing. If you could share us a little bit more detail about it.
I believe that following up with what Stacy just mentioned, besides technology and besides everything that is going on with data, with AI and machine learning, I think that after the pandemic, I don't think it will be a trend. I think that it's something that is here to stay. Uh, Candidates are looking for this flexibility to have remote opportunities. They want to balance their work with their life. And at the beginning, we thought, okay, it's going to be just 2020 because we're in the middle of the pandemic. And then every time that we interview a new candidate, you start to notice that they are asking more about culture. So this is important for any company that is looking to hire. First, understand your own culture, what you can provide for your workers, because they are looking for not only a salary, but they are looking for a motivation. They are looking for something extra, something that will tune with their personal interests. Nowadays, you can see a lot of projects about climate tech and sustainability. So people are seeing a little bit further than just doing a code and just doing a program. They want to believe in something. So I think that remote work and the flexibility of having this balance is one thing. And then make sure that if you're going to hire, uh, understand your own culture, because candidates are looking very in depth of your culture and what are the vision that you have, the goals that you have as a company. So I think that's a must before trying to hire someone.
Yeah, I agree. I think what Amy just said is very, very accurate, and also like this trend of remote work, and I think also it's here to stay.
For sure.
Thankfully, because it allows. Another thing that I was thinking is that it allows for multicultural teams to happen, and when you have in one team like people that come from different countries, different cultures, different walks of life, and have had different experiences that shape them as people and as professionals. And they all gather into this table to share ideas. Usually what happens is that I've seen it, I've experienced it, and it's so beautiful to like hear them, listening to them talk with those very different points of view over one product. And the end result is usually so much more diverse and rich. So yeah, I think that is a great thing that's happening, that people from all over the world is coming together to create amazing products.
Yes.
1,000%. I mean, remote has, I don't want to make too many commercials for remote, but we've been, putting a lot of resources into doing doing this research, right? And quantifying, because everybody is like, is remote really working out? Well, remote has been formulating, scientific reports looking at the cost benefits of remote versus, on-site workforces, and we feel like we can demonstrate absolutely it's 1,000% a net gain. And so, we may feel that it's one thing, but we've been able to prove it with some really scientific research, and I invite you to, take advantage of that. I'm going to share the link here in the chat. Whether you're an employer or an employee, there's documentation out there that this is really a net gain and really good for everyone involved. So please, use our proof, because we've hard to compile it.
Thanks,
for
Stacy.
sharing.
Thanks for sharing that. And yeah, like as we were mentioning, the amount of success is just starting, and it's gonna continue picking up. And I'm looking forward to see how that continue evolving, because the chemistry between LatAm and the continent, it's there. It's very defined and clear to see, and it's working. So yeah, for sure, many successful stories are gonna be coming up, but unfortunately, and also to be careful about everyone's time, we have been coming to an end. So sorry to all of those. And for that, let's save like a couple of minutes to go through the Q&A, as we have been receiving a couple of messages. And one of the questions that Jose is asking is how can he find opportunities in the US? How can a person, like, I believe that's a question that many people are asking, and I don't know who would like to share a little bit about this.
Well, first of all, let's start from the beginning. You have to understand how to set up your profile to get opportunities in the US. So make sure you have your profile, either if it's a CV, a resume, or if it's your LinkedIn profile. I can share some information about us as recruiters, right? And then I'm going to leave the girls to share other information. But as recruiters, when we have a new opening and when we are looking for candidates, we usually do it on LinkedIn, because we hunt for candidates and we search for candidates on LinkedIn, Indeed, and all those platforms. But you need to get your resume or your profile ready. How to do so? With keywords, because we are going to look for you with keywords of the technology that you're using, the task that you do in your day-to-day job. So make sure that before going out to look for something, for a new opportunity, for a new role, to think about what you are doing currently, what are your skills, what are the technologies that you're most used to work with, and then we can go ahead and give you some tips about a lot of portals you can upload your information. But we recruiters, we usually look for you. And that's a great thing in technology, that we are always looking for new developers to join the teams. So make sure you have all your information detailed.
Yes, keywords are super important, and having a well put resume or LinkedIn is crucial to land a job in the United States. But also, if you look for any of the companies that do connect Latin American talent with US companies like ours, you can also look at the openings that we have and apply for those jobs that you really feel comfortable, and that that you have a skill set for those, and you'll have great chances if your skill sets match what the job description says.
Yeah, makes sense. And thanks, Tania and Emilia for sharing. Another question that I'm receiving is about some Stacy was mentioning about the national benefits that the companies that is growing attention around, but still many individuals are working with US companies, but not with those benefits. They have like a more informal they have like a more informal type of agreement. Any suggestions about the challenges about this? Is this okay? What should they do? Any recommendations around that?
Well, I I don't think I'm the best equipped to answer that, but I will tell you this: in the United States, our legal system. In the United States, our legal system is very clear that if you are accused of stealing a loaf of bread, you must be proven that you took the loaf of bread before you can be found guilty, except for around employment law. In the US, and I can't say it's the same in other countries, but it might be the same. In the US, if you are the employee and you think your employer has done the wrong thing, the burden of proof is on your employer to prove that they did it correctly, right? If you're going up against Coca-Cola and you say they never give me breaks, how are you ever going to disprove Coca-Cola? So Coca-Cola has to prove they did give you your breaks. So that is the labor law legal landscape in the US. I don't know what it is in Argentina, and I don't know what it is in Peru, and I don't know what it is in Colombia, but I urge you to research your rights and figure out, if, hopefully there's the same sort of legal landscape for you as an employee in your own country. And one of the biggest factors in saying, hey, something's wrong with my employment situation, is an employee stepping up and saying this just isn't right. And I can imagine, I don't know for sure, but I hope the support is there for you if you're not getting the benefits you think you deserve. Please find somebody that you trust, that knows the labor laws, and figure out if there's an in the US, it's easy to start an action. I am entitled to these benefits and I'm not getting them. I don't know if that exists in every country, but I really urge you to go look.
And you were mentioning, Stacy, the other day, that also if you, as a company, if you don't follow this like legal parts, if then you are looking for funding, or if you need something like that, it will be extremely hard for you to get that VC to invest, because
That's
you don't.
absolutely, yeah, that's a trend I'm seeing too, Emilia. Thanks for reminding me. I have so many customers coming to me saying we're trying to get our Series B or our Series C, and one of the conditions for approval is, are our workers classified correctly?
Mhm.
And I've got 2 or 3 customers that are asking me to do this with 50 workers that they've got, and I'm going through and saying that job description for this employee, fine, he's a contractor. Job description for this worker, he manages people. I'm sorry, it's just not.
It's
It's
red.
just not aligned. Yeah, it's red. It's red.
It's
You have
red.
a red light. So yeah, that's absolutely some power that that folks have too. Is series money can be dependent on proper classification.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's great to hear, and thanks, Stacy and Emilia, for sharing about it. So sadly, yeah, it has been an amazing roundtable. I had a lot of fun sharing this very insightful information. Yeah, I wish we could do this sometime again, but unfortunately, the time has come up. But also, if the idea would be to for sharing for everyone the links about Tales, Kadre, and Remote. If anybody wants to reach out to us, feel free to do so, and we'll be happy to continue conversation anytime. So thanks a lot, Stacy. Thanks a lot, Tania and Emilia, for joining us today, and looking forward to speaking again soon. So
Thank you,
thanks a lot.
guys.
Thank
It was a
you. Thank
pleasure.
you. Super fun. Ciao.
Bye. Thank you all.
Bye. Thank you.
Well,